That's Ed Sheeran and Sing. I must apologise if you're listening to us on 104.5 FM and it's a bit warbly this morning. We don't know why that is, but our engineers are working on it right away. He's there and he's perspiring a little bit, I must say that, but he is working hard on it. He's got his spanner out. And I said, if the spanner doesn't work, I've got a hammer. Wasn't it Trini Lopez who had a hammer?
I guess it was, yeah.
You don't remember
no,
that,
I don't remember.
If I had a hammer.
You're going back too far. You're dating me, Steve. Carbon dating me, possibly.
Joy. You carbon date me. Carbon date some of the things around here.
You've still got your ticket from David versus Goliath, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
I was in the front row.
There you go.
Yeah, in the
I thought you were the ref.
In the VIP circle.
You see, we're leading on to the wrestling thing. Look at
We
that.
are. Ross Owen Williams is with me this morning. Ross does our Sunday afternoon show here, or Sunday afternoon, early evening, and you're starting 2 hours soon, aren't you?
Yeah, starting 2 hours the week after next. Looking forward to getting some of the local music acts in the studio with me to sit where I'm sitting right now when I sit where you sit right now.
Absolutely. We had a good band in last week, actually, who came in. I forgot the name now.
They must have made an impression, Steve.
They did make an impression, actually. They were really, really good. All I remember is somebody I used to work with, Michelle Mitchell, is the lead singer of the band, and they were releasing an EP. And that seems to be quite a popular thing to do.
Yeah, very much. I played something by Sadie Haller this last weekend.
Oh, Sadie Haller from Exeter.
She has got, yeah, indeed. She's got a couple of EPs out, and this was called Desire, this song I played. Excellent song. Got a great response on my social media platforms.
Did it?
Really, yeah, very impressive. It's been really great since I put word out about the show, trying to publicise local music on Sundays. It's been absolutely fantastic in terms of the response I've got and the new music I've been hearing that I wouldn't have been exposed to otherwise, and it's given me the chance now to expose people out there to this music and hopefully get out and support the local bands. There's some great talent out there.
Absolutely. How'd you get from being somebody, because Sadie's been around for just a few years, she's not. She's only a young lady.
Yeah.
But how does she get to the next stage? Because I don't know. I think she's really good.
She is. I only became aware of her because myself and the missus were over at Frogmary Green Park a few weeks ago at a wedding fair, and we saw her out there, and she was playing. And I just popped over afterwards, said, hey, listen, radio show, do you want to get some of your music played? And so that's had a chance for me to become aware of her. But I think that's the thing, is really it's about exposure. It's about getting along to these events, pushing the word out. Social media platforms, of course, are huge these days. Sophie Bryan is good at that with her band Bloom at the moment. They're doing a lot of work online in terms of pushing their new singles out there. And that's really got to be where you start these days.
Absolutely. Well, you've come in to talk about some of the other things that you do, because you, of course, sing in D-State.
I do.
And we even did a gig recently together,
We did indeed, Fantasia. It was
Fantasia
fantastic.
Ball. Yeah, absolutely. It really was a great night. But you also do writing as well, don't you? And
do.
You've written a book alongside Al Snow, and Al Snow is big in the world of wrestling.
Al Snow is huge in the world of wrestling. Al Snow worked for WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, the world leaders in sports entertainment, for Lord knows how many years. He had a very long run there, 95 all the way through until I believe it was about 2008, 2009. Currently, he's the owner of OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling in the States, and he's just started a new idea, which is, I think, that the first wrestling combine where he's going to bring people in, help them train, upgrade them on what's called the snow scale, and get them out into the world of wrestling. So it's legitimizing wrestling training to make sure that everybody's safe, trained to the same standard. And it's a business which can cause a lot of physical issues. So what Al's doing at the moment is really noteworthy, and if it works, it could be fantastic for the health and the future of the people who are getting into the business very young and coming out the other end, possibly with a few physical issues which could be avoided by proper training, monitoring throughout their entire career, and making sure that the future of the business is in safe hands.
The book is called Self-Help. So
shall I explain that one?
Yes, explain.
Okay. So Al, when he started in wrestling, he was from 82 when he broke in all the way until the mid-90s, known as wrestling's best kept secret. And he worked on the independent scene, and he finally got to the big stage of WWF, as it was then, in the mid-90s. And he started with a masked gimmick, where he would come out in a mask. He came out without the mask and put the mask on during his matches, kind of like a Power Ranger. It didn't work very well. It didn't get over with the audience. Al takes the blame completely on himself, and the story for that is in the book. But when he went away from the big promotion, he joined a smaller promotion called ECW, or Extreme Championship Wrestling, for a while. During that time, he did what is called within wrestling getting over. He managed to make a connection with the audience. And how he did that was researching, he was looking through medical journals. So he went back and he found, he's always been interested in this as a guy. He's a highly intelligent person. So he would read a lot of medical journals, and he found out about paranoid schizophrenia with translocation. I'll have to figure it out at the break in a minute what the exact thing was. But the idea was transference issues. That was it.
Got you.
Schizophrenia with transference issues. So he would project his madness onto another object. He started carrying around a mannequin head with the idea that it wasn't Al that was crazy, it was the mannequin head. So the gimmick became he was a crazy person, and it wasn't meant to be funny ha-ha, it was funny kind of nervous laughter, like what is wrong with this guy, there's something. And he committed to the gimmick to the point where he would take the mannequin head everywhere. He'd take it to dinner and he'd order 2 meals, and he'd sit there and he would talk to the mannequin head at dinner.
Goodness.
So that if you saw him out in public with the mannequin head, you go home and go, you know that dude on TV who talks to the mannequin head, he really does that. And then you can buy into that. When you see him, you're actually seeing a superstar. So he did that, he committed to it. And what happened is he ended up writing "Help Me" backwards across his forehead with the idea that the mannequin head was doing that to him. So "Help Me" led to self-help, because what we wanted to do was talk about a lot of stories, life lessons, because that's the subtitle here, life lessons from the bizarre, and it was bizarre, wrestling career of Al Snow. So the idea is that we wanted not a self-help book as in one of these manuals, but certainly life lessons, things he's learned from a 35 plus year career, and he's seen so many things and experienced so many things, so many hilarious stories, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment.
Let's hear some of those stories in just a moment. We're talking this morning to Ross Owen Williams, and we're talking about a new book that he's written alongside Al Snow.
Al Snow.
The book is called Self-Help, and we'll find out more about it in just a moment. That's after a piece of music that's on the way from Depeche Mode. Radio Ninesprings with Depeche Mode and Enjoy the Silence. Big song from the 1990s, I think that was around when it was.
That was early 90s, I believe.
Yeah, good stuff.
I can remember that, Steve.
We're talking about a book today, Self-Help, written by Al Snow, who is famous for being a wrestler, and Ross Owen Williams, who's famous for just being Ross Owen Williams.
If only. If only. Wow. Famous. What's it? A legend in my own teacup.
Yeah. So Al Snow talks to a mannequin. Is he nuts?
Al is very much not nuts. Al is incredibly funny, very articulate, very clever. And I think it's one of those misconceptions that wrestlers are all knuckle-dragging brutes. A lot of them are very, very high-functioning people, very clever, alpha males. And, yeah, you've got a few of them who are a little bit knuckle-draggy. But at the same time, just like in any business, you're going to have people who are a little bit slower, some people a little bit quicker. You want to talk about real world. There's Glenn Jacobs, a guy who portrays essentially a pyromaniac monster called Kane, is now the mayor of Knox County in America, a very legitimate businessman and now the mayor. You talk about Jesse Ventura in the past, who became governor of Minnesota. Let's face it, very soon The Rock's going to be the president. We all know it's going to happen. And what a step up from where we are now, right?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. But we mustn't say too much because
No.
he's in the country now.
He'll
He can be sending the
have me
boys
tracked
round.
down.
Yeah, he'll be sending the boys round.
Hey, did you know Donald Trump was actually at one of the WrestleManias?
Was he?
He hosted WrestleMania 4 and 5.
Wow.
And, in fact, here's a link to the book. The chap who wrote our foreword in the book, Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the most famous wrestlers of all time, actually gave his finish move to Donald Trump at WrestleMania 23.
Really?
Yep. There you go. See, a treasure trove of worthless information, me.
Tell us about some of the things that Al has gone up to and that are in the book for us to read. We don't spoil the whole
No,
book.
I
We want
shan't,
people to go and buy this book and take a look at it. Tell us about some of the things in there.
Well, what we didn't want to do was do the conventional autobiog of nothing but, and then I did this, and then I did this. Don't get me wrong, there is certainly a bunch of information in there about what Al did during his career, because people are going to want to know that. They're going to remember things like the Kennel in Hell cage match he had with the Big Boss Man, the hardcore title matches he did with Bob Hardcore Holly, whose book I also wrote. Very good guy, Bob. And, yeah, they're going to want to hear about that. But at the same time, we steered away from talking too much about his personal life. I think that's something that he felt, you know what, people aren't going to be that interested in that. They want to hear the wrestling stories. A lot of it comes from stories that he found on the road, things he's experienced since leaving WWE, the crazy and the zany things he's seen. So I'll give you a few examples. There was a story about an independent wrestling promoter who decided he and his son were going to come to the ring both on horses in an arena that was not really big enough to fit one horse, let alone two, and where exactly they were going to go when they met head-to-head around the other side of the ring amused Al and amused us all. There's a story about a bunch of little people Al was transporting in a people mover who decided to get completely tanked up on the road, and that all going completely wrong. There's a fantastic story involving a wrestling match between Jesus and Santa, which involved a taser, one of those little lightning sticks. Yeah, that's a cracker as well. There's a story about Batman and Robin wrestling, but not the actual Batman and Robin. Not that they are. No, of course not. But not
the real ones.
Not Pattinson. Definitely not Pattinson. The Batman. But no, there was a couple of very dog-eared, rough wrestlers. One of whom was 6'4" Batman and a 5'2" Robin on an independent scene. Just some absolutely cracking stories encompassing what he's seen beyond that one. There's some fantastic things about his early career, how he learned certain things, like in wrestling, when you're traveling down the roads, if you're in the passenger seat, you do not fall asleep. And his mentor trained him that one by when Al did fall asleep. At the last minute, his trainer swerved, smacked the desk really loud right in front of Al. Al jolted to life, and his manager said, "Oh God, I just hit a guy." And had Al convinced for 2 weeks that they just killed a person, and said to Al, "You can't tell anyone." And he just put the pressure on him for 2 weeks. And at the end of that, "Oh yeah, I was just ribbing you." After 2 weeks, and that's in the book. It's a great story. It's one of those things that stories of the road that show you what the industry's like inside and out. Really fascinating, very funny. Getting some great reviews on Amazon already.
Why should people get a copy of this book?
Because I wrote it. No, people should get a copy of this. Certainly, if you're a wrestling fan, you cannot do without it. The early reviews are incredibly strong. Slam Sports in Canada put up a review saying that Al and I owed the reviewer $100, not because of the fact that the book took up that time, but because he couldn't stop reading it. So he went to sleep late and missed his dentist appointment the next day. That's one of the best reviews I think I've ever had so far. If you're
couldn't keep his nose out of it, then once he was in there, you just had to turn the next page.
I've written it so much you can dip in, you can dip out. It's a fast read, it's entertaining, and I think even if you're not a wrestling fan, and I'll go back to my good lady Victoria on this one. She's not a wrestling fan. She watches a bit of it here and there, but she wasn't familiar with Al. She read the book and she absolutely loved it, and she said to me, "You know what, people who don't like wrestling will still be able to read this and absolutely love it." So Amazon.co.uk. It came out last week. It came out in the States early May, and so far it's already on its second printing, so it's going well so far.
Is it available on Kindle?
I believe it is, yes.
Well, there we are.
I think it's going to be an audiobook later in the year as
so
well.
You can have it physically. I don't think you can beat physical books, though. I think staring at a screen, I stare at enough screens all day without going home and getting another one out.
We won't say what you're looking at, though.
No, well, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Really good to have you in here
today. Great to be in here,
Ross. Are you down at the Home Farm Fest?
I'm not at the Home Farm Fest. I'm away that weekend,
okay.
But I've got some good friends working. Not working. They are working there, I suppose. We've got. I will draw attention to Jamie Witt on the Sunday morning. It's the first public playing of his album. Fantastic guitarist.
I'm really hoping to get in touch with the guys down there and do a little walkthrough on Friday's show between 9 and 10. Have a little walk around the site on the air.
That'd be awesome.
To sort of point people in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm getting back just about the right time, around the time when Reef will be going on. But I'll be in here, won't I?
You will be here and busy next Sunday.
Chained to the desk.
Or else. Good to have you in today.
Great
the book is Self-Help. It's Al Snow and Ross Owen Williams, and it's available on Amazon or good bookshops.
I haven't seen it in a bookshop yet, but if anybody does, please tweet me with the picture
Brilliant.
at the R.O. Williams.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.